very much. So my background is in horticulture, as you've heard. I'm really happy with some of my hands are covered in mud and I'm outside. It shows actually that what I'm really interested in is practical stuff. So a lot of what happened in the village was because I got fed up of talking about it and moaning. So well, let's just do something. I know it's small, I know it's very local, but it just seemed to me that if you have lots of small local actions, they actually, grade, make a difference. And it is an opportunity because at a local level you actually can get to know people quite well. You can have conversations that at a national level just pass by. One of the things, just to stick with the horticulture thing, one of the things that I've done is to create a little garden outside our community library because it was there used to be two whacking great big land around here and there was much argument in the village. Finally they felled them. So rather than have an empty space, I was asked, having done this, whether I would then do that. So that's the beginning of it. That's just the first year. It'll look a lot better than that in time, don't worry. And I did it because I just wanted to make people smile. It's just a place in the middle of the village, rather than have a scruffy mess. That's a nice garden, and people love it. Harbury Energy Initiative was, again, me talking to someone. We actually had a blood donor session, and right at the end, so we're obviously a bit lightheaded. Sitting next to each other, having a cup of tea and high sugar biscuit, and we just were talking about sort of eco matters, and I said, look, why don't we just stop talking about it and do something? He said, oh yeah, I agree. So anyway, between us, we started this thing called Harbury Energy Initiative. That really a terribly clear idea of what we were going to do. We launched in 2010, and we didn't have much time to think about what we were going to do because at that time, Energy Share launched this big competition, which we went straight into without having the faintest idea what we were doing, but it did mean that we came up with a really good shopping list of all the things that we would like to do in our community. And there were several rounds we had to get through. We got all the way through to the very last round, and there were three categories. We were in the large grant category, we came fourth. Having just started the year before, we came fourth, but of course we got nothing, because only one of us won. However, it did leave us with a legacy of ideas. It also made us learn about these things. I hate Twitter actually, I just want to do it. But Facebook has proved enormously useful. I think Twitter is useless at the local level. Facebook is really useful at the local level because you can talk to so many people through Facebook, whereas Twitter is just we ran an event, Green Memories, Green Future. We've done a couple of events. I don't think they're useful anymore, actually, but that's just my personal opinion, because I think we've kind of exhausted our goodwill with people. So then the next big thing was the government, in the way governments do, were coming up to the end of their financial year and they wanted to spend some money to prove that they were interested in green issues. So they launched this Leave thing. This was about the Green Deal, the ill-fated Green Deal. And so they launched, they said they were going to do it in November, they opened the funding in December, and they announced the results in January and said, oh, by the way, you have to spend the money by the end of March. And they were 3 weeks later in giving us the results of the deliberations, but we still had to spend money by the end of March. Anyway, we did it by about half an hour. Slightly cheated, but anyway, we did do it. So we did a whole lot of things, working with Encraft, who did energy efficiency audits and on all the buildings. We got 45 grand from them. Because we were in the first tranche, we were able to do some practical things. So we did this, which was to do internal wall insulation in what has become the community library. So that's the original old primary school, another phenomenally inefficient building, and we spent quite a lot of money improving that. That's now a community library with internet facility and a little cafe down the far end, which is hugely popular. Some public engagement. So we invited some quite interesting people, including Martin Orrell, to come and speak to our community. Given that he was pretty senior in British Gas at the time, it was amazing that he should come over on his bike, because he's a keen cyclist to talk to us. And then, so we did all that. I won't go into all the things we did, but with 45 grand, we were able to do quite a lot. But one thing we couldn't do, which we really wanted to do, was to have a flight over the village to check the leakage of heat from roofs. But by the time that they made the money available to us, the weather had changed, and so it was impossible to get the right weather conditions, because they can only do it when it's very cold, very clear. So we couldn't do it, so we spent it on something else. We quickly found something else that we desperately needed to do. Anyway, then we thought, okay, what's next on the list? And we thought, well, we've done the library, what's next? So we wanted to do some more in the library, but they didn't want to do what we wanted to do. So we said, okay, we'll go to the rugby club then. So the rugby club ended up getting cavity wall and roof insulation for I think they contributed £700 and we gave them the rest from this very small grant from here. Working with a school, as it always comes up, you know, working with young people is so important and is the way to get change. You have to wait a bit because they have to grow up and become people of influence, but you get there in the end. So we love working with the school. So they did quite a lot of things for us, one of which was to produce this very pretty logo, which was done by an 8-year-old girl. And I think that some corporations might pay tens of thousands. It cost us absolutely nothing. So me having to go into assembly to speak to the children. But they were so well paid. They'd done a couple of surveys for us, which from our point of view was really more about awareness raising, about them hassling their parents, and that point's come up again. So it was about them saying, how much insulation is there in the house, Dad? I don't know, go away. But it was very useful, and it meant that we got to talk to the parents because they came in when the children presented all this stuff. And they wrote these lovely birth poems, which we published in the Harvey Rabbit News. We've been into school to give a couple of talks. LED lighting is the next thing that we're working on, which we're partway through. So, you've heard about the electric car club. Why would we want to do an electric car club? Well, it was on our list. One of the things we talked about at the beginning was we weren't thinking about a club. We wanted people to realise that electric cars are actually a real alternative. They're not milk floats, they are proper vehicles. And the average journey that people do is about 20 to 30 miles, which is well within the range of any electric car, which now do 250, 300, even 400 miles on battery charge. So the reason it came about, actually, is that I started off with my friend Martin Orrell from British Gas, who sent me this very cryptic email, as he does, saying, I've got this great idea and I can help you make it happen. So I thought, well, it's Martin Orrell, it's got to be something good. So I said, well, what is it? He said, electric car club. So I thought, oh, it's on our list. Yes, please, I'll have that. Thinking that he would just say, well, there you are, I've set it all up for you, all you've got to do now is just persuade people to use it. Not quite the story. He said, you need to talk to these people. I'm a non-executive director of this startup company. So I went, I spoke to them, I got in touch with them, and they said, yeah, it's very nice, it would be a lovely thing to do, but actually totally uneconomic and too much of a risk for us. But there's this organisation called Car Plus, which is the umbrella organisation for electric car clubs, and they are working with the Department for Transport, who are running a fund at the moment called Developing Car Clubs in England, because the Department for Transport are really, really keen for people to get out of their cars, onto bikes, car sharing, any way of reducing the amount of traffic and pollution. We've gone on to them, put in the application with the help of eCard, who were very helpful, and we got the money. It was competitive. We were one of 6 successful groups that got the money. Because by now we've got quite good at, oh, come on. Right, well, anyway. It's come off its thing. There we go. That's right. Anyway, lots of hard work. It was. And then the grant application, and we got that. So we ended up with a car club. Totally new venture for us. I had no idea what this would involve. What I did know that we would have to persuade people to use it. I'm not going to go through this, but basically what we found, we got lots of interest to begin with. Oh, great, another wonderful Harbury scheme. Of course I'll support that. 70 people came to the launch, which completely blew the minds of the eCard people, because they were used to doing these city launches where about 20 people would roll up late. And the place was jam-packed. The car park where these cars are parked was completely crowded. So that was great. But then, of course, they all went home and just carried on as normal. Because what we were living on was the goodwill of people who said, this is a great project, I love the idea, you can have my membership money, but I have no intention of ever driving those cars. Fortunately, a few did, and some of them were quite adventurous. But what we realised was, and we were told this at the beginning, you need a main user. So we invented one. And that was this Harbury e-wheels. You will have spotted that there's different cars. Those are the ones we started with. We've now got those grey ones. Harbury e-wheels came out of us in the original application saying, we want to use these cars for social benefit. Again, you know, this is typical of me. I had absolutely no idea what I meant by that. I just knew that if I put that in, I'd get the money. But I sort of meant it, but I just didn't know how to deliver. I then teamed up with there's a church group called Transforming Communities. Well, it was called Transforming Communities. We've changed the name to Supporting Communities now. It's just a small group of people trying to do things locally and nationally. And I joined that group and started talking about this. I thought it was a brilliant idea. The idea is we use the vehicles to help people who can't get to appointments at hospital work. You know, single mothers who've got to go to counselling sessions because they've been abused, and all of that kind of thing. Breaking isolation, all sorts of things. But we started off with the food banks. So we thought, well, if there's people who need things, they'll be going to the food bank. So we went along to the local leader of the food bank, and he said, I can think of dozens of people who could use your help. You need to go to this agency, this agency, this agency, this agency. And the way we wanted it to work was that people would refer clients to us. We didn't want to become a taxi service. I don't want to be on the phone all the time. I don't want another job, I'm retired. So it has to be free because there's already volunteer transport schemes where you pay. So we wanted it to be for those people who really, really can't afford it. The bus service around us has become less frequent. It's therefore much more difficult to get places than it used to, and it's bad enough already if you live in a rural area. I'm running out of time. We're not far off. So, and it is of course clean green transport, purely electric, charging up from the library. We got some pilot funding from Big 60 million. So far we've got 9 volunteer drivers. The whole thing is volunteer and it's fantastic, the level of commitment of those people. 9 volunteer drivers, 6 volunteer coordinators. We have a fairly simple Google Drive referral system. And I'm not that IT literate, and I created it all, so the fact that it works at all amazes me, but it does. So we log every journey. All the drivers are GPS checked. We're working with lots of different agencies, child centres, children's centres mainly, AGU, people like that. We're now up to 1,300 hours of free transport. We're running about 100 hours a month at the moment that we're doing. We were shortlisted for a community energy award, but we didn't get it. And the diocese have also given us some money, which has helped us to run the fundraising campaign we need, because all of this costs money. We ran a couple of events, both of which help bring in some money, but we need about £6,500 a year to run this, because it's become so needed. I'm nearly finished, I promise. So what next? We've started off a regular donor supporter scheme for e-wheels. I'm not expecting anybody here to donate because you're not in Harbury or this. We deal with our area 15 miles radius of Harbury. But if you wanted to support us, please do. We're not asking for vast amounts of money. What we want is lots of people to give us a little bit. So if people commit £10, £20 a year, that's brilliant as far as we're concerned. We've got about 30 plus people doing that at the moment. We need to get up to about 200 or 300. So there's a barn dance, if you like barn dances, that's our next fundraiser. We've done one tranche of LED lighting in the school. That's another story, but I haven't got time to tell you. And I'm now going for trying to get some money from Heart of England Community Fund, which administers some money for Community Energy Warwickshire. Trying to get some money out of them to do as much more as we can as that, but it'll be sort of a bit at a time as we get the money. There is one thing that's not on this. Anyway, this is a new book. I just got excited by this. It's probably completely the wrong thing for me to do, but I just think it's a brilliant idea. An old piece of viaduct, which can be a growing project, plus a solar panel project, plus an eco project, plus maybe an electric car club as well, all with this bit of old, disused railway viaduct. I really wanted you to see working with the church, which is the biggest frustration of all, because I just can't do it all. I need somebody there to say, yeah, brilliant, I will lead on that. And I'll do what I can to support them, but I'm just not going to do everything. So, and I'm not getting it, because they're just so busy with other things. One other thing we've just come up with, which I think is such a great idea, one of the Harbury Energy Initiative people said, how about, with all this worry about filthy air and pollution, why don't we have a no idling zone in the centre of the village and by the school? It's illegal anyway, but it's not enforced, and it would just make a statement. Don't leave your engine running. That's it. Okay.
Thank you. I'll try not to actually take, because I would like you to sort of ask questions perhaps at the end. But anyway, so I'll start with this one, which is a relatively new photograph. My neighbour flies helicopters for somebody who's got lots more money than I have, and he took us up the other day. So that gives you an overview of the farm. We bought it in 1994, and it was then, and basically it's most of what you see in the picture. So sort of all the way around like that is our farm. 80 acres at old money, or 32 hectares if you like to work in metric, which we have to nowadays. That was nearly all arable. Bits, that bit of woodland at the top was there, and these bits of permanent pasture were permanent pasture, the rest was all arable. There were no buildings, nothing actually. So since then, that was literally taken this May, and you can see that we've built. We started off with very small. That was the first building we put, and then the rest linked in. And I'll explain what they are. This is our earth sheltered farmhouse, which you'll see later on. And we have area for growing vegetables and other bits and pieces of woodland. So we planted that in 1995, and this was in 2000. It's mostly all of these meadows here are all species-rich grassland, which have quite encouragingly now got a much better diverse sward in them, which I'll tell you a bit more about as we go along. So, Oh, and you can see that it's a water feature. So, for example, our drainage is this, which is a pair of reed beds, which then goes into a wetland and then woodland. So we're not on the main. Our main electricity, but we generate from these solar panels and those solar panels. So, linked in with all of this, we have cattle and sheep. The cattle are Shetland cattle, which are, like any of the traditional breeds of cattle, very good at what people sometimes call conservation grazing. I was talking to somebody earlier about, the sort of the yield sort of vanity of a lot of non-organic farmers that must have the best yield, but actually that isn't the best way to make money because if your inputs are low, we're a very low input farm. These cattle eat nothing but grass or dry grass in the form of hay in the winter. Only ever make hay. We house them in the winter simply because if you don't house them in the winter, you can easily ruin your land. It's mostly very heavy clays, although it's actually quite a varied soil that time we go into all of that. They're beautiful cattle, they have a nice temperament, they're very fertile, productive, excellent beef, and the milk is quite good. And actually, there's something I read the other day where cattle grow better. This is a very recent study, I only read about, I think, 2 days ago, or even yesterday, where there's at least 20 different species in the pasture, which goes against all the sort of things that people are trying to sell you tetraboid ryegrass, saying high sugar levels and all the rest of it. We don't eat nothing but sugar, do we? It's going to make us pretty ill. And the same applies to livestock. Working with nature, that's part of what organic all works on. That's nice, just a kind of little picture of the nice little Shetland cup, sweet, aren't they? So the other livestock, we have a castle of Moorage sheep, which most people have sheep and never heard of either, so if you haven't, don't worry about it. They were bred by a chap up in the Scottish borders near Lockerbie, the Castle estate, saved from extinction by complete accident by a wonderful man called Joe Henson, who some of you may have heard of, that started the Redbury Survival Trust with others, and it was purely by accident he saved them from extinction because the estate was selling them all off, and he just happened to buy some. But again, they are they're part of what we call the Northern Short-tailed group of sheep. They don't have foot problems, unlike a lot of lowland sheep. The wool is very good, very low in chem. They're very good to eat, very tasty. Came second in the taste contest of all the breeds they did some years back. They look pretty. They're bred to look pretty, actually. So they do a good job again for conservation grazing. Now, this is one of the fields that was an arable field when we started, which was in 1994. And that is actually it's mostly natural regeneration. And some of that came from what was a nice organic farm, not a million miles away from us, in a place called Withdybrook, which unfortunately isn't anymore. He retired to Spain, but before he did. So all these yellow flowers, mostly yellow rattle, which is a semi-parasitic wild flower. Those are all yellow rattles, which is an annual. It helps to suppress grasses, which means that the flowers and other herb species can have a better chance. And part of the benefit, incidentally, of having all these herb species in there, you might think it's not productive grassland, but that manages to bring minerals and things to the surface, which either in the hay or in the grassland is better for the animals. It's like us, as I said earlier, you want to have some variety there, but it also looks very pretty, of course. So, and that's another one which we actually did from seed, which is hence rather performance of oxide daisy. That actually wasn't taken the last year. And the oxide daisy, which was very dominant to begin with, is becoming less so. And when we started in the springtime, there were hardly any cowslips. Now the cowslips are getting more and more, and things like ragged robin and stuff are becoming more. So the wildflowers are becoming better. And in this field, which I haven't seen anything before, which I come on to, we found more wildflowers which should have been there. Bee orchids. And absolutely alive with bee orchids. And admittedly, somebody is looking around, but in the field, you've just seen that they've got loads of bee orchids in it. And I haven't harvested it. We don't make hay until mid-July, mostly because we're in a thing called countryside stewardship, so you have to wait until the 15th of July under our contract with them. And we're again talking, actually we can go a bit earlier this year because the wildflowers will have set seed. The bee orchids already over. This was, that sort of May time or early June. But it's lovely to see them back. And actually, one of the family from that originally had the farm, they said to me ages ago, oh, we always used to have bee orchids there when I was around. And I sort of almost scoffed, to be honest. I thought, well, there's no way the bee orchids around here. Yeah, they all are. And this year, I haven't got pictures of them, but we found pyramidal orchid, which I'd never seen before. Common spotted orchid we have had, so we have and we found only one, but there will be others. And we also have green winged orchid. Again, not very many of them, but the conditions are gradually becoming better. But this has taken a period of about, well, since we sort of really got growing, about at least 10 years. We've been there about 20 odd years. And this is another one, sort of haymaking late summer. You do depend on the weather, but that makes Gloria say that the people that have horses that would have bought it, have ordered somewhere else, delivering some more on Sunday, and they just go mad for it. So it's great. And that's, we could be doing it quite late, hence autumn mists in the valley, but it does make good hay. And goats like that, incidentally. So zoning in a bit on the other things we do, which is growing fruit and vegetables. The water there is actually an irrigation reservoir. It's roughly, say, 1 million gallons of old money, 300 cubic meters in new. It's just like an ice cream cone, very deep in the middle. And even when dry years, it doesn't run out. But we're watering from that every day through the growing season. And also it's watering cattle at the moment. Cattle are drinking from that through a pump. That's another bit of a view of it from further above. So this field is the agroforestry future of poplars, which incidentally, and nothing against the Americans, but the grey squirrels, please take them home again, because they really are trees. And they take the tops out of a lot of these poplars there, just fallen out, because the grey squirrels have rhubarb them. But that gives you a bit of an overview. So this is the orchard down here, and these are all gardens so we can graze it with sheep in the right times of year. And that is on a traditional spacing of roughly 7 metres between the trees, unlike modern orchards, which are actually nowadays grow things called fruit walls, where they're just like a sort of long line, very narrow. They do everything mechanically. But we have over 50 different varieties of apple. We have 7 or 8 different varieties of plum and pears and all that stuff. Which means we can have, we picked the first plums last week, we'll have plums through till September, we'll have apples from August all the way through to October, pears, etc. And we try and supply locally, so that's the part of the ethos of what we do. So that just gives you a little bit of a close-up, and these are slightly closer looking at solar panels, sheltered farmhouse there, and the other farm buildings. That's the cattle are housed in that building through the winter. I'll just nearly in with this one, so that's just a nice little picture of apple blossom in the spring. And you can see the garden there. The other part of some of the things I do, I don't know how many metres of hedge I've laid now, it's quite a lot. Last winter, because I won't bore you with countryside stewardship, it's very bureaucratic nowadays, but I laid about 250 metres of hedge last winter. Quite a lot. So it's very satisfying when you've done it. That's about 2 or 3 winters ago actually, but A, it looks nice, and B, it's tremendously good for rejuvenating a hedge to make a good stock-proof hedge. And that bit of woodland behind it we planted in 1995, so there was nothing there before. Quickly on to electric cars. I've talked quite a few about electric cars. This is my electric car, which I've now had for 3 years, and it's cost me less than a penny a mile to run that so far. I've done about 24,000 miles by it. I don't do a high mileage, but it's used an awful lot. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a great convert to electric cars. They don't do everything. I still need something else for towing, but that sort of thing will come along. We talked about that already. So, and those are just a bit of the solar panels. The economics of that is that when storage comes on, which is now, it's getting more and more going to be cost effective. So energy storage is going to make a huge difference. I was hinting at earlier as far as renewables, and you saw that graph where the reality is far greater than anybody's production predictions. They're talking at the moment about Australia. There's a firm called, it's a German firm, Solon Battery, that will be able to have most of the places in Australia that they're completely grid independent, because they can generate, store it during the day, and then use it at night. We could do that. If you actually do it on a financial thing, we generate far more electricity than we use already by quite a big margin. Just at this precise second, I would cheerfully estimate that I'm exporting 80% plus but the electricity that I'm generating at this moment is probably higher. Over the day, these last few days, it's been high 70s, that's including charging the car. So that will all make a difference. And that's not a huge array, really. It's about 21 kilowatts, something like that. That's just on the roof of the house. The benefit of the house is it's what's called earth sheltered. I can tell you lots more about it. We do have a wood burning stove. We hardly use it now. We actually have a heat pump as well. But if I tell you that it costs me less than £1 a day using the heat pump through the winter to heat the house to plenty more than enough for anybody, then it's quite economical. And we can actually graze the grass on the roof. I haven't let the cat up because I'm just a bit worried about them falling through the skyline. They don't jump off the edge, it's a bit like children. They don't actually want to jump off the cliff. And sheep don't get either. They're not stupid at all. But it's a lovely place to live and it's very energy efficient. So, I mean, do please ask me some questions, and that's just a nice scenic view of some of our shed.
First of all, I really do appreciate the invitation for the opportunity to engage with what is a really fantastic project. I have to say, at our first conference on climate change at Kumabi in 2001, we had somebody from this organisation participated in my first contact with it, so I'm very pleased to hear about the progress. I would just like to refer you, because I've been asked to talk about or illustrate some of the local projects. To save me a little bit of time and boring you, I've reproduced this, which you have, which from an event 18 months ago at St Mary's Guildhall, which just captured a little bit of the very good developments that are going on. But it highlights really, as we've seen by both the last presentation and before that, well, very good projects are going on, but they're very little known about. And one of the key challenges to us is to find a way to disseminate the good news that's on this agenda. And just happens today that there is the G20 taking place in Berlin, and a lot of talk is about the lobbying of Trump's on the climate change agenda. Well, the day after Trump's made the fantastic announcement that he was going to abolish climate change, to help the poor people of Pittsburgh, who are the coal miners and so on, the leader of the state of Pittsburgh made a statement, declaration: don't worry about Trump's. There is no problem here that we aren't already solving. We actually employ 3 times as many people in our area producing renewable energy, and in the next 3 years we will double this, and we will invite the coal miners that can't get jobs to come and help us to produce the renewables. And I think it illustrates, in America, the tremendous development of renewables is absolutely fantastic, and we've got to put this story over rather than seeing the Trump's scenario, which is basically, forgive me for saying this in this setting, it was a load of bullshit. That it was lies, complete lies, that it perpetrates, that it's ruining the economy of the United States. Quite the opposite. But what we will get from Europe today is a stronger commitment to drive this agenda on addressing climate change. And I would like just to suggest that you might like to read this report that's just come out from the government's Committee on Climate Change. If you just go into the website, put Committee on Climate Change, that's the government specialists, scientists, engineers, finance people who advise the government on climate change. It puts a fantastic case, the business case for this addressing this agenda. And again, unfortunately, we've got a Prime Minister at the G8 today that is lobbying the American President to reverse the position on climate change, having just demolished the legislation for the Green Deal that Bob referred to, the building regulations, so that we are not going to any longer build these cheapo houses that are energy sieves, not to mention dangerous, but also how to retrofit our buildings that come up to the typical German standard, which can save some 20 to 25% of our energy consumption. So without, first of all, going into renewables, it's what we can do with our buildings, including a building like this, relatively speaking, if I don't mind me saying so. So if you see on the wall here the radiators, well, these were brought over by, I think, the Romans. Contribution to Coventry citizens. But also, we've got single panel glazing on here. I'm not suggesting you put in the latest triple glazing, but you can put a secondary glazing. You buy it down in Wicks for relatively pennies. And a lot of the things about retrofitting our buildings is very cheap, easy, but it also creates local employment. And that's a very important component of our case for the low carbon future economy of our country and the world. Just to illustrate, particularly one company here in Coventry, again, which is very surprising. It's a water company called Severn Trent Water, funny enough. And Severn Trent Water is now the biggest generator of renewable energy in the West Midlands. It generates 33% of its energy needs from its site. Thank you to you, the customers, because we all use a toilet, and we will be doing for quite a number of years yet. And they're taking that very kind gift and they're turning it into renewable energy. But they can also grow biomass on huge, great chunks of floodplain. That is, if the government continues to allow building companies to build on floodplains, which we then got to address later on. But they can grow vast quantities because they can't allow farmers any longer to use that floodplain because of the contamination when we get floods, and we're going to have more floods. And so you can grow biomass. But potentially they've also got the potential of hydropower. They're looking into a whole systems of hydropower. And I know this isn't one of them, but the potential is they're building a new pipeline that's taking the water from North Wales back into Birmingham. It's a fantastic, nearly 100 miles long. It's all on gravitation. It's not any power involved in it, but potentially you could put micro turbines at various stages on that way down and capture the energy. But there is lots of different ways in which they're projecting going to generate 100% of their energy. And here we just say about customers, when we're talking about generating low carbon buildings and living, it's not just about the electricity, But water is one of the biggest single consumers of energy. So if you save on water, you're also saving on energy, and with that, of course, the carbon footprint. So here we've got a company, a water company, that has set its sight on becoming a completely independent source of its own energy from all renewable sources. And we're going to run one of our conferences hosted by Severn Trent on the morning of the 5th of October, to which we will send through Godfrey an invitation for you to come along and see directly, as well as other things as well. I could also mention one other local project in Coventry. Several years ago, the Coventry City Council and Solihull Council, who run the waste to energy plant, or the waste plant in Coventry, were paid £1 million, £1 million to consultants to advise them that they needed a new incinerator, an even bigger incinerator, which required even more waste coming from further and further away, particularly as we had the waste bins, the clean bins, renewable bins and so forth. So the waste was going down, but we needed a bigger incinerator. Instead of that, we persuaded them that we'd run a conference on work towards zero waste. And cut long story short, that resulted in a heat line, retrofitting the existing one and putting a heat line so that the heat from that incinerator produced the hot water that now flows into and supplies cooling and heating, spatial heating and hot water for both the Coventry University, Coventry City, and there was a plan for coming into the cathedral here, and therefore to turn again a waste, a nominal waste, into a renewable energy. Now, this all illustrates really the future of energy and systems for the UK. And a recent report out by the consortium of 80 energy suppliers, including the Big Six, a report called Energy 2016. If you go onto the website, Energy 2016, and they all say the future of any energy supply is going to be decentralised, away from big central power stations that waste roughly about 50% of the embodied energy that goes into generating through the central power stations. Here we've got the opportunity in Coventry, every city in Britain, every large community, of producing 100% of its own energy needs. We've got it from the sky and the sun, we got it from the wind, we've got it from under our feet. Just we had mention of heat pumps. We've got the potential under our feet to generate all of the energy that we need, geothermal, in various forms, not only just putting pipes under when we're putting foundations into new buildings and so on, but going down to hit the hot rocks. And you can put that a loop that goes, water goes down and it returns boiling, goes through the system, capture that heat, you can turn it into electricity as well as heat and cool your homes and so forth with it. All of this is technically possible. There's no problem about the technology. There's no issue about the finance, objectively. We've got loads of finance. The issue here is everywhere, whether it's in the States and what we're referring to, or it's across the whole of Europe or across the whole of the world, it's a big missing element is leadership. We've now got the science and the knowledge, we've got the technology. It's the leadership to drive this, whether it's at government level, it's at business level, or local authority level, or for that matter, the religious community. And if I may say so, I'm very pleased about what's the discussions going on here with the church. But if you think about it, not just as your own church, but think about this. If we could get together next week, the Sikh community, the Jewish community, I don't think that there's a synagogue any longer in Coventry, but the Muslim community, all the religious faiths come together and they mapped out all of the properties that they have in this city. You map it out and you then make an assessment what we can do together. And you put onto that map what are the adjoining buildings to those churches, community centres that they have, schools that they have, and you then start to look at the potential of linking those together in that community where they fit together, and you start to put a decentralised energy system in place. But you also look, if there's a big store nearby, it's Sainsbury's or Marks and Spencer's or Tesco's or whatever, a big energy user, and you then can put in a smart system so that whatever renewables that you put in, those can be linked and shared and switched over a period of 24 hours to mutual benefit, including the vehicles. The plug-in electric vehicles that can also then develop into hydrogen, where we have in Coventry a company, Microcab, that is producing small-scale prototype hydrogen and fuel cell vehicles spin out from Coventry University, or JLR, who just is going to establish a manufacturing of electric vehicles. But not only the electric car in itself and the plug-in, but the Birmingham University, Warwick University have got a whole set of projects to do with solar. And one of these is spray-on solar. So the actual body of the car can be a solar panel. The roof, the sides, but also the glass. You can get now clear solar glass. The average car is run and used 1 hour in 24. And we know it only, on average, does a few miles. So that car can actually be a source of generating power for the vehicle, but it can also, with smart link technology, it can also feed into your house. But it can go even further. It can be linked in to the national grid, so that at a critical moment between roughly 4:30 in the afternoon and 7 o'clock, it switches automatically the surplus to go into the grid, and you get 3 times as much for putting it into the grid at that time. And it's all done using smart technologies. Now, if we're not familiar with it ourselves, of such a generation as myself, for example, we have a huge resource who can advise us with no charge, except pocket money. We ask our grandchildren, and they will do it for us. Now, they may want to up the pocket money, but nevertheless, we can negotiate. So we've got the technology. We actually can generate it all ourselves, and we can create in the process what is called the circular economy. Do you know Birmingham? The people of Birmingham spend $3 billion a year on energy, which basically goes to companies that are outside of Birmingham, outside of the UK, primarily mainland Europe companies. So it takes the economy, it takes the money out of the local economy. So if you can divert that back into the local economy, you can also create jobs, a better life, the quality of life for people in their homes, of transport, so that our vehicles are not killing people. 10,000 people are died prematurely every year in London at the moment, and growing, because of pollution. What's more, our children are getting the particulates into their vital organs that will impair the quality of their lives for the future. So all of this comes together. It's the very best case for us going down this road to save the world for the future generations and build a better quality of life for ourselves. So thank you very much.
Well, after listening to Tony, what we managed to do in Stratford is nothing. The potential is there, it's really down to us. And I'm so glad, Godfrey, you let me to say a few words here. Because when Kenyon retired to Stratford in our church, we have a lot of inspiration from him. And so it's a great honor to say something about our work. Now, what I try to do is to tell you in last 12, 13 years, what we managed to do in our church. If you look at, I thought it would be a pointer.
There was a little thing.
Should be, it may be very
slight.
Not very bright, okay. Anyway, as you can see in 2005, our carbon footprint is about 40 tons a year. And after a lot of effort, we did manage to reduce a bit. But the real change was when we have we developed a program in 2013, and we managed to implement a lot of the green measure into the building program. As you can see now, in the last 3 years, it was less than 15 tons. Now, how we managed to do that? If you look at this graph, in 2010, we still over 30 tons. And at the time, the Methodist Church had a scheme, trying to encourage us to look at our own footprint. And we submit our data for them, and they give a certificate. As you can see, the certificate is disgusting. It showed that at the time, even after we have done quite a lot, like changing low to low energy light bulb, try to put a few more timers somewhere in there for the heating. In fact, our carbon footprint is 11% above what it should be. That means it's quite a big footprint. In terms of so relative efficiency, we were classified band F, that means 20% below the standard. The overall performance we have, very poor. Now, it was a big shock to us. We thought we have done our thing, but in fact, we didn't do much. And the recommendation is that we have to do better to reduce 27% from 2010 by 2015. Now, when we analyze our own data, we realize that 80% of our carbon footprint, it came from gas consumption. If you look at gas consumption in the early days, it was over 200,000 kilowatt-hours a year. As I said, the reason is very simple. What we have in the 1964 building is one induction boiler, one single loop. So we just waste a lot of heating to start with. So once we realize what we should do is concentrate on reducing the gas consumption. What we managed to do during the redevelopment, first is to change the heating system. We now have a 3 condensing boiler linked together. And then we separate or divide the building into 4 zones. Each zone is controlled by a timer. Each timer is based on the booking. Now, our church building is very, very popular for our local people. So practically every day somewhere was used. But now we actually time it. Every single location, we only give heat when there is booking. Of course, another thing, the reason we use so much gas in the past is because the insulation was not good enough. So we took the opportunity to do the wall insulation, improve some of the roof insulation, and also change all the door and window into double glazed. Because before they were single glazed and metal frame. And then on top of that, we actually have a new room built for that project. So we took the opportunity to set up a ground heat pump and then use under floor heating for that pump. And now every year gets set up generally about 7,000 kWh of heat. Now, in terms of electricity use, we also took the opportunity to rewire the whole building. All the lights are LED light. All the public passage, like corridor, toilet, are all controlled by the microwave sensor. So we actually managed to reduce some of those wastage. But since we finished our redevelopment 3 years ago, our booking is shooting up. So now we in fact have more booking, more usage day and night. But nevertheless, we actually managed to set up our own solar panel, and it generates about 9,500 kWh a year. Now, if you compare with how much electricity we use from the national grid, and compare with how much solar electricity generated by our own panel, as you can see, it still didn't really completely level with what we use, but at least we make contribution. Particularly in summertime, as you can see, we export quite a lot to the national grid. And we also took the opportunity to set up a rainwater harvesting system. So now we actually use rainwater to flush all the toilet. Before the redevelopment, we had no idea how much water we use to flush the toilet. Now I can tell you, we use 60,000 liters of rainwater instead of tap water. In 2010, when we joined the competition or survey, our church position is here. That's why it was considered very poor. Now we use our own calculation based on how much electricity we use, how many people come in, so on and so forth. Our position is there. So now we are still not on the top, but still have some more to do. Now, in the practical level, as you can see, if I just use the data 2 years before the redevelopment, 3 years after the redevelopment, as you can see, the electricity use didn't change a lot. But we generate so much electricity ourselves, and it is the tariff we receive every year. The gas consumption, as you can see, it dropped very drastically. And if you work it out, before the redevelopment, our fuel bill is about £9,000. Now it's just over £4,000. But if you just subtract the income we have, it's less than £300. So what we try to tell you is that something can be done, but more should be done. And that's why I come to this conference. I want to learn something how to do it. And I can see now, for instance, at the moment, our ground heat pump only warm up one big room. Can we do something to warm up bigger part of the main building? And also, at the moment, we have the supplier from the big company. This December, we are going to change to 100% green energy supply. And so if there is anything more we can do let us know.
It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here, both myself as a regional worker to find and discover the continuing inspiring stories that Coventry and Warwickshire keeps hidden away until we get everyone together in a room, but also for Christian Aid. It's a very good week for us in some respects. On Tuesday we had Canon Sarah Hills come to us. She presented Christian Aid with a cross of nails and welcomed us into their global community as a marker of our global commitment to tackling violence and building peace. But it was also important because both Coventry and Christian Aid emerged from the Second World War as places and movements of people inspired by faith, who would look out beyond our individual boundaries to say, there is a different way, there is a better way. We are all one. Surely by working together, we get a greater glimpse of what it means to be Christians in God's planet today. So thank you very much for the invitation. Having of course started with Coventry and Warwickshire, I'm now going to travel with you to Burundi. It just makes sense, doesn't it? It's a nation in Africa bordered by Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and it's in the bottom 10 poorest nations of the world. I had the privilege of travelling there 3 years ago, and in true eager traveller fashion, you go with all your pre-prepared questions and promptly discover they don't quite make sense. We knew climate change was a key topic. Christian Aid has been talking about it since 2009 and was the first international development agency to make the link between global poverty and the changing climate. But try asking a sustainable farmer in Burundi, what do you think of climate change? And let alone going through the translators, it just didn't make sense. It took a couple of goes to discover just simply saying, what changes have you seen in your farming patterns? And soon a very different conversation emerged. You began to hear about changing rainfall patterns, hot seasons getting hotter, wet seasons getting shorter and more intense. People whose lives relied upon the land were discovering huge differences, and the sort of generation by generation knowledge that they were making their living and sustaining themselves from was rapidly having to change. And those changes in harvest times meant, as one women's farming group explained, winter supplies being eked out far longer than in many respects they'd planned, less income and less ability to pay for their child's education. So I left Burundi inspired by the many co-ops I'd met, rejuvenated in my knowledge of that economic system, but challenged by some of the realities of what climate change meant. So I'm quite excited to stand and bring you a slightly different story from Burundi, which is part of our global big shift. Christian Aid is at the moment talking about the need for a big shift. It's what we've heard every hour of today. A shift from the historic fossil fuel development to the much more exciting, sustainable, affordable, renewable world that is just there waiting to be encouraged. Jacqueline is a sunflower farmer. She's treasurer of a local sunflower co-op, The co-op gathers together all these small farmers, enables them to have an increased income by working together, more security by having more hands able to do things at a better price because you take more crops to the market. And by working within that co-op, she's been able to raise enough funds to build herself a house. But there's something remarkable about that house. That house has a solar panel on it. Might not sound that much, particularly after we've seen the good work in Stratford. But in Burundi, 94% of the population do not have electricity. Here we have one of the poorest building her own house, being able to put a solar panel on. That solar panel powers a light. And what does that light deliver? It means her daughter can study in the evenings. Friends, that's why we're here. That's why Christian Aid's in the room. Because what we're talking about is transformation of individuals' lives, of the poorest lives in the world. Not how do you get the electricity you currently get in slightly different methods, but how do you begin to get the electricity in some of the poorest parts. But it also means, as I discovered when chatting with someone from the Philippines, that in that set of countries which is ravaged by typhoons, when typhoons hit and people take shelter in the shelters, now they are able to keep the fridges running through the solar panels on the roof. That means those who need medical help can still access their medicines. Education for children, medicines even in natural emergencies. That's what a renewable future can look like. But it's also about us learning what it means to live honestly and truly in God's world today. Through the big shift, we're now in stage 3. Stage 1 was a call to action to the UK churches and church members to sign a petition to the government. The government was going to decide, do they invest in a new generation of coal-fired power stations? And along with wider civil society, we delivered thousands of signatures to say no. And our government said, no, they will not invest post-2025 in a new generation of coal-fired power stations. That overall is a positive step forward because it challenges the market, it challenges the energy producers to say, put your time, energy and money elsewhere, because that is where people will then be taking products from. The next stage we heard earlier was the big church switch. It's no point simply asking for change if you're not willing to change yourself. So alongside Tier Fund and Buy to Buy, with the Church of England recognised energy buying consortium, we helped a miracle happen. I hope you'll forgive the use of the word miracle, but I've worked in church settings for a while. You've seen me on LinkedIn, you know that. It was Lent last year when Christian Aid and Tier Fund launched the big church switch. It's quite a quiet time in the church, Lent, isn't it? Nothing happens. But in the month after it was launched, 400 churches managed to decide they wanted to join in bulk energy purchasing, which was 100% green and as green gas as possible, which I think the first time it came through was around 10%. That shocked the energy market, and it called the Department for Business, Industry and Skills to have a conversation with us. What's going on here? Because we were no longer just calling for others to do things, we were taking responsibility for what it means ourselves. And now we're on to stage 3. Money. Everyone likes talking about money. Well, actually, no, we're here in the UK. No one likes talking about money. Never ask what someone earns, just politely pass the plate along in church, looking like we're putting a lot in. But money is at the roots of both the problem and the solution to opening up these new technologies, to funding a more sustainable future, to helping the world meet some of the aspirations that the Paris Agreement set in place. Research by Christian Aid, published in November 2016, looked at the UK bank investments. In other words, what they're doing with all the money that sits in it, to see what sort of future they were using our money, your money, my money, our church's money, everyone else's money to support. And our research suggested banks are still financing coal-fired power stations. The ratio of oil and gas projects to renewable energy projects was still tremendously in favour of fossil over renewable. we suggest, in theory, over and above what should be the mix at this point, recognising there's still more fossil fuel options to fund than renewable. We found that banks are reluctant to set measurable targets to scale up support for renewables or for phasing out of fossil fuels. The banks are not transparent about how they are engaging with what they invest in with relation to climate change. And most importantly for us, the largest UK high street banks do not seem to have a plan in place to reduce and phase out their financing of fossil fuels over the next few years. Just as Lynn was saying, we can change all the light bulbs we like, but ever so often you need to go back a few stages and just check, is the ground being set in a way that means we can all play our part well? And this all fitted into a wider narrative where the G20, who we hear are meeting at the moment, were providing $444 billion a year in fossil fuel subsidies. Now, some may suggest this enables cheap, albeit dirty energy to be provided to the poorest of the poorest communities in the world. And yet, research by the International Monetary Fund suggests the wealthiest 20% of the population, and of course my laptop's just gone to sleep, the wealthiest 20% of the population get 43% of the benefits of the subsidies, while the poorest 20% get 7% of the benefits. This challenging situation meant investors managing $13 trillion between them wrote to the G20 asking for them to phase out fossil fuel subsidies. There is movement, there is action, and there is a chance for each of us to do something. We are now writing and engaging with HSBC, Lloyds, Barclays, and RBS. Well, actually, we are, but we includes all of you. Because although there are a small number of UK banks, and those of you with a history of economics will know why, the G20 Financial Stability Board suggested the big four UK banks were globally, systemically important. Within Europe alone, the UK has 37% of all assets under management. Let's think back to what we were hearing earlier, in case your brain is about to explode from the scale and numbers. We put our money in the banks. We can write to the banks and ask, what are you doing with it? That is why we have petition sheets, and there's one at the back which, purely so we can have a register, of course, I would encourage every one of you to sign before you leave, so you can take any form of action today, which asks the CEOs of Barclays, HSB, Lloyds and RBS, as a matter of urgency, to make a clear commitment to end the financing of coal, to set ambitious and measurable targets to increase financing of renewable energy generation and the decreasing finance of fossil fuels, and to publish the carbon footprints of your investments and loans, not just your operations. And this last bit is also important, because it's not just about what, if you'll forgive the phrase, the green ghetto may be investing in. It's about ensuring that the conversations that banks have, whenever they lend out money, includes basic questions about what is the carbon footprint, what is the environmental impact of what you're doing. And banks should be open to this, because as with all of civil society in the lead up to the Paris Climate Agreement, they step forward, they release a statement saying, this looks like this is going to be good news, we will do our bit to help ensure it happens. Our campaign says, great, what does that bit look like? Here are a few suggestions. So I have with me some hats which I would like to give away, but I'd like to give away having taken your name and details. Myself included, we've all got excited at conferences, and then about 2 months later, oh, what's this on my desk? Oh dear. So I want to offer to support and help you to think in your churches about what it means to have money. It was Francis Havergal who gave the church one of the great hymns of individual and collective dedication. Who here has ever sung "Take My Life and Let It Be"? Through its thoughtful pace and tune, we explore many different facets of how we can offer our whole life to God. No doubt on Stewardship Sundays, the vicar implores you just to fill out that extra direct debit You may have sung, "Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as thou should choose." But as people also remind us, our Christian faith is not just 1 hour on a Sunday, brackets, you may go to church at another time, insert those times there. It is about what we do every single day of the week. It's about all of the resources we have and what principles and values they live out. Christian Aid is here because you as the church, for 60 years through Christian Aid Week, for nearly 70 years, have recognised the poorest in the world are our brothers and sisters and have given generously to help. We are also here because through our work as a global network, we know this call for renewal is not just us in the UK. It's the climate caravan of bicycles that just cycled around Kenya, stopping off in towns and villages to talk about renewable energy, to meet with politicians, to meet with churches. It's part of the giant global movement which circled the globe, I think it was 1.5 times in pilgrimage before the Paris Climate Agreement, to come together to support and challenge the lead negotiator to say, we need a good deal. The world is changing. We've heard mention of Trump, we've heard mention of Brexit. What the new world is emerging is a fairly easy and simple one in some respects. Top down is going, bottom up is coming. So let's all play our part. Let's challenge the banks that hold our money to live out the faith we profess. Come and find your campaign hacks at the end. Thank you very much.